Welcome to Education in the Simulation Century, the podcast that explores the cutting-edge innovations and visionary leaders shaping the future of education. I'm your host, Linda Bernard, and I'm thrilled to take you on a journey into the heart of educational transformation. Each week, we'll dive into the minds of trailblazing educators, researchers, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who are at the forefront of this educational revolution. My esteemed guest today is Tom Vander Ark, a renowned advocate for innovations in learning. As the CEO of Getting Smart, Tom advises schools, districts, networks, foundations, and learning organizations on the path forward. A prolific writer and speaker, Tom has authored and co-authored countless books, including Getting Smart and Difference Making at the Heart of Learning. Previously, Tom served as the first executive director of education for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and as a public school superintendent in Washington State. He brings extensive experience from both the public and private sectors. Tom currently serves on the boards of several education organizations and is an advisor for accreditation AI and learning, as well as numerous schools and startups. I'm happy to welcome you as my second guest on my new podcast, Education in the Simulation Century. Welcome, Tom. I'm excited to pick your brain about the future of work, learning, leadership, and the role of education, AI in education.
Thanks, Linda. It's so great to see you again.
So, in your role as the first executive director of education for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, what a cool job, by the way, you likely gained unique insights into the potential of technology to transform education. How have your experiences there shaped your current work at Getting Smart and your perspective on the role of AI in education?
Linda, it was actually the two experiences before the Gates Foundation that I think were really formative in my view of tech. It was serving as a public school superintendent here in Washington State, and the 15 years that I spent in the private sector before my move into education. And in those roles, I worked in the private sector. I led and worked with many large companies that were just beginning to incorporate the power of technology and build technology-enhanced business models. And what we quickly learned was that just automating the way we had done things was not the best approach, that you really needed to redesign each system given a new set of capabilities. So it wasn't really integration, it's redesign. That's the opportunity. And I took that same sort of approach as a superintendent with help from Microsoft and early philanthropy from Bill and Melinda Gates. We were one of the first one-to-one school districts in the country back in '95. And we tried at that point to rethink what was possible now that students were empowered with individual learning technology. I wouldn't say that we were fully successful at redesigning. There was probably a lot of integration that happened, but we started the first K-12 online school in the country because, as an example of reconceptualizing what's possible given a new set of opportunities. And I would say at the Gates Foundation, this starts around 2000. Microsoft had a lot of interest in education and technology, and so EdTech wasn't a core of our work at the Gates Foundation, but what was launching new schools and schools that were trying to incorporate technology into their new learning model. And I would say increasingly we saw probably the most success with charter networks that were brand new school designs that incorporated the power of technology both in student learning but also in the learning model and in the school model, and including back office. So The key there is really just thinking about redesign more than integration, and just being conscious of the new opportunity set that exists in each age. And that's clearly true today, as we're about a year and a half into a brand new opportunity set. And so the opportunity with generative AI is not to integrate it into how we've done school, but to reimagine what's possible with these new capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, I love your answer. That's such a holistic mindset and, looking at all the aspects that are involved in every single educational environment. How do we ensure that AI in education promotes equity and inclusivity? And I would rephrase that a little bit, given your previous answer, and say the designing of schools and the education experience.
Yeah.
How do we make sure that we're promoting equity and inclusivity?
This is a great question, Linda. And if you're not freaked out about this, you're not paying attention, because AI is ratcheting the inequity gap. We're actually, during the pandemic, we were seeing disease and climate change and AI all ratcheting the inequity gap. These are all global phenomenon that are rapidly widening income gaps and wealth gaps. And I think this wedge of global factors driving inequity might be the most important and dangerous thing that's happening. And the flip side of it, it's AI comes with a number of tremendous benefits, but I think the issue of this decade is how will we share the power of AI and the benefits of AI. So that's an external factor, external to education primarily. But for us, I think what you've pointed out is that AI, it's now not so much the tech gap. We've almost closed the digital divide. Most schools are certainly wired, and most kids are in one-to-one learning environments. That happened as early as 2019. We did find out during the pandemic that about 20 million households don't have very good internet connectivity. So we haven't fully closed the digital divide, but the new divide is really going to be a human divide, not a tech divide. It's going to be for young people that are learning with adults that understand the power of AI and create a learning context that takes advantage of AI. So we do face a new inequity gap, is that some young people will be in homes and schools where they welcome and embrace and utilize the power of AI, and other young people that don't. So I think we have a new human gap that's going to be more important than the tech gap.
Wow, that's really interesting. With that in mind, how do we use AI to help students make a difference in the world and make that positive impact and improve things?
So the best examples of what I'm talking about are occurring in entrepreneurship education. Ethan Mollick at Penn and Bill Aulett at IT. Bill just launched Disciplined Entrepreneurship. I think that came out end of April, so very recently. And both of those gentlemen are reconceptualizing entrepreneurship and teaching entrepreneurship, and they're inviting young people to use powerful tools and reimagine what's possible in terms of giving these new capabilities. What kinds of new organizations can we create, and in what ways can we now more quickly, more inexpensively create value for our community? And so that notion of approaching problem finding as an augmented, amplified human, and asking the question, how and where can I most quickly deliver value to my community, is, I think, an incredibly powerful use of AI. And I'm really excited about what's happening there. I just got back from visiting a lot of entrepreneurship programs in Chicagoland high schools, and I'm excited that this idea of teaching entrepreneurship is just beginning to revolutionize high schools around the country. Lots of them in Kansas City. We were in Dallas recently. We were seeing lots of schools teaching entrepreneurship. We were just in Los Angeles, project at Da Vinci schools near the LA airport. They've developed Project Leo, which is AI powered app that helps young people design projects important to them and to their community. So they're client connected projects or community connected projects, but they're designed in a way that it's work that's of value to a community partner, but also valuable to the young person. And this idea is the thing I'm most excited about in life, is inviting students into work that matters and
Yeah.
inviting them to co-construct projects and then sprint to value creation, not just for them, not to get a grade, but to actually deliver value to a community. That's the idea of entrepreneurship. And that's I think, the most exciting application generative AI to date.
Couldn't agree with you more. Social entrepreneurship has always been very close to my heart, and it's something that I've seen a lot of students really gain a lot from and grow a lot with. So, yeah, couldn't agree with you
So
more.
let me take off on that. So I believe, and I think Bill and Ethan, who teach this stuff, we all believe that it's all social entrepreneurship. It's all about value
Yeah.
creation for a community. And both of these guys, I love the fact that they're teaching this is not about making money fast. It's about finding scalable and sustainable ways to create value for a community. So I love that idea is taking hold, and that we're seeing more colleges, and there's actually a whole there's about 70 engineering schools now called the Keen Network that all are
Wow.
teaching this entrepreneurial mindset of opportunity recognition, solution design, and value creation. So that's the category I guess I'm most excited about in AI use right now.
That's so cool. And also, like, how would you take those principles? Because, as teachers, we're always trying to teach problem solving and critical thinking and how do you think outside the box, very anti-regurgitation. All good teachers want their students to think and really problem solve, work together in teams. Those kinds of things are so important. And when you merge that with what you're talking about with entrepreneurship and, developing that earlier in schools, I wonder if that now will form part of like the future school blueprint. Like if you were considering, and I know you do actually design schools and the systems, what advice do you give to school leaders and district leaders who
Yeah,
are thinking about these things?
it's a great question, Linda. So you have to start with a community conversation and invite people to reflect on what the heck is happening and what it means. And that often yields a set of agreements around some new learning priorities. People may call that a learner profile or a portrait of a graduate. But I'll give you an example that we've just been talking about. We've been talking about the skill of opportunity recognition or problem finding or problem framing. This is one of the most important and potentially most valuable life skills of finding problems we're solving. So in the age of AI with rapid change, the ability to find and frame and quickly tackle important problems might be the most important skill set. And we have almost never taught it in K-12 schools because we've always done the job of framing the problems and giving them in small bite-sized chunks with right answers. And this is
Yeah.
every course is organized around a set of given problems with right answers. And I would argue that we need the opposite now, that we need to create spaces where we invite young people to identify and frame the problems and then work on solutioning. But this skill of problem finding can only, you can't tell a community, by the way, we're going to focus on problem finding now. This is a new priority. that you'll get fired for introducing an idea that way. So you really have to start with a community conversation that invites people to reflect on how's the world changed since you were in school. And as a result, what new skills do you think young people need? And as a result, what kinds of experiences do you think they have? And that may sound tedious, but I don't think there's another way forward without having these community conversations that yield new agreements around new learning goals.
Your book, Cities That Work for Everyone, is a brilliant help with thinking it through, not only about the school and the school community, but the community at large. And how do we bring those two together in a way that makes sense for everyone and really does leverage all the skills that are available around us? I would love to see a situation where we have young people who identify things that they are passionate about, problems they want to solve, and then there are mentors in the wider community that they can then lean on. So, how do we ensure that where we're integrating this, it enhances community-based learning?
We updated that in a book called The Power of Place that came out the day that the WHO declared a global pandemic. So there was another one of our pandemic books. But The Power of Place is argued that every place is a place and a place worth learning about, a place that has a lot to offer. And we think it is, I don't know, almost ironic that given all the cool new technology, including generative AI, but also AR and VR, these immersive technologies, that opening the door and going outside still might be the most important learning opportunity there is. We think place is a super important shortcut to engagement and to personalized learning, because every young person engages with their place in a different way. So it is personalized learning in how it interacts with young people. We think about place-based learning as not just experiencing the physical environment, but the cultural environment and the ecological environment. So it's really the economy, the ecology, and the culture. It's experiencing a place, your place, or a place that you're visiting in this multi-dimensional way and in a very personal way. So we think place, place-based projects, community-connected projects, dramatically increase learner engagement. They dramatically increase personalization, and they develop a sense of identity of yourself and your place. And so this goes back to our last conversation about community conversations about what's important. We think developing agency, identity, purpose are now more important than ever. But that ought to be in a stated public agreement that we want adults to agree that developing identity, agency, and purpose are super important. If you come to that agreement, we think that place-based experiences naturally follow, because there's not a richer way to develop those human drivers. So place now more than ever.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And it's exciting, this whole idea that maybe we are actually going to be able to change the way education is delivered and received. That's exciting. So the developments in AI in education, as I said, they're very exciting. We've got a lot of things that we can contemplate. It's exciting, it's frightening, it's intimidating for a lot of people. What advice do you have about these new things that are coming out for teachers and schools, particularly about the advances that are happening so quickly with OpenAI? And what are you most excited about in the coming years?
Well, my first piece of advice is a difficult one. What breaks my heart this spring is to seeing people using AI to double down on teaching hand calculations in mathematics. We need a global reconsideration of math, of computational thinking, and of the analytical skills that young people need. And for schools to be using Conmigo to automate the instruction of factoring polynomials or multiplying fractions I think it's idiotic. And instead, I want to invite students to use smart tools to model complex systems and to do it for a reason that's important to them and their community. I want them to take on important problems and deliver value for their community. So I think right now we have to be very careful not to adopt generative AI to automate bad 20th century pedagogy, but we need to use it to start doing cool stuff that we couldn't do 2 years ago. And so that's the most important thing. The next thing I would say is that out of these community conversations, I think you'll see AI literacy becoming a huge priority. AI literacy for everyone, for learners, for teachers, and for parents. And so I think school systems that sprint to AI literacy to help people become informed users, to begin developing these personal identities as amplified humans, and to be smart consumers of digital media, this new form of digital literacy. Ethan Mollick 6 weeks ago said, you can no longer trust anything that you read or see. And I hate that we've reached that threshold in our time together on planet Earth, but that means that we need to teach young people to be really thoughtful consumers of new media. That's a really important part of the AI literacy that I think ought to be a super high priority. So many people probably have a month left of school. If you do nothing else, make sure that your graduates are leaving literate in good and bad applications of generative AI. Make sure your teachers have lots of opportunities to learn how to use these tools effectively to make their work and life better, and sort of where and how they can invite young people into using smart tools. So AI literacy, it's a new priority.
Well, Tom, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast today. Your insights in the role of education from your wealth of experience have given us much to consider. As we look to the future, it's clear that your work at Getting Smart and your continued advocacy for innovative learning practices will play a crucial role in shaping the conversation around AI and education. And I'm excited about that. And I hope that you get what you're saying you want to do. I would love to see that. I would love to see a world where students can have those opportunities. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Linda. We appreciate your leadership and your advocacy. Thanks.
Stay tuned for our upcoming episodes, where we'll be featuring some of the most innovative, influential voices in education. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review Education in the Simulation Century on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in education.